Greetings, everyone. Good to be back with you. I'd like to offer my apologies for the technical glitches yesterday before we started, and to thank you for your kindness in that respect. So we're going to pursue our training in emptiness with the aspiration of cutting through the illusion of self. And so to begin, we recognize the wholesomeness of mental seclusion. So knowing the tendency of the mind to proliferate, we carefully place all our concerns, worries, stresses outside the meditation space. We can come back to them later. No need for them now. So begin by assuming your meditation posture. Settling in to whatever is supporting you, whether it's the cushion, the floor, the bed, the chair, and feeling the contact, this body. And this is contacting with the earth. And closing the eyes if that's comfortable for you. And letting the attention come to the breathing. Long, slow, deep inhale and exhale as a way of connecting. And we'll do a brief but hopefully loving body scan, bringing warmth and kindness and metta to all the parts of our body. And as we do so, relaxing them to the best we can. So starting with the head, the eyes are closed, and see if you can feel the muscles in your face. See if there's any tensions anywhere in the forehead or behind the eyes or around the mouth. Any sort of holding. And it's a lovely thing to soften that. And bringing our loving attention down through the neck. And then letting go of the shoulders, the arms, and the hands. And down through the torso, the heart, the belly, the pelvis. Loving awareness through the legs and down through the feet. And now, making the connection with the earth and drawing up the earth's energy through the feet, up through the legs, the pelvis, the belly, the torso, the shoulders, arms, and hands, the neck, the face, and the crown of the head, scalp, and that little opening, the remnant of the fontanelle. We can let that loving awareness shine out into the sky. So being grateful for this body, however it is. And now sweetening our mental state, our mind state, with a taste of metta. Lighting a little candle in the heart and letting it warm and encourage this body. And then little by little, letting it spread out far and wide, to the front, to the right, to the back, to the left, above and below. Gently radiating metta. Doesn't matter how far it goes. The intention is benevolence towards all creatures everywhere in this universe. And now keeping that flavor of metta as a sort of background theme to our meditation, inviting the mind to rest in the body, resting in the body as a whole. It's a safe and wise space for placing our awareness. If you like, you can imagine the myriad biological processes going on in your body. And experiencing the body as flow, inconstancy, constantly changing, and fundamentally empty. of a self. And we can move from the ecology of the body to the ecology of the earth and sense our interdependence with all the various creatures on the earth. Each breath, taking in oxygen and giving away CO2, sharing these molecules with who knows what beings and when and where. We're all in this together, I like to say. And I find thinking of my life in ecological terms to be very, very beneficial. It's really physically the case that there's nothing substantial that we can really reify as a self that's in control of everything. It simply doesn't exist. And these molecules that we share and receive, this process is so ephemeral. Who knows who's participating? Sometimes we breathe in molecules that somebody else, perhaps like Ajahn Chah or the Buddha, perhaps, may have breathed in some of the molecules that we're breathing. And then getting down to basics. Seeing the body in the body. And this means that we see the Dharma in the body. Knowing our own and others' bodies are just impermanent phenomena. And now opening up our awareness to whatever is arising moment by moment through any of the sense doors, and very carefully attending to our lived experience. This is crucial because in each moment, we create the causes and conditions for the next moment. And so the crucial importance of seeing clearly, of keeping our mindfulness fully in gear so that we can see when something arises, whether it's wholesome or unwholesome. And then we can decide which way to go. And instead of choosing the path of bondage, being stuck, we can choose the path to freedom. May my practice be a cause for awakening. So, whatever you do, choose mindfulness. Keep practicing like this. Keeping our awareness on our lived experience in this body, in this place, in this moment, attending to whatever arises and seeing that clearly. Seeing the inconstancy of all that we experience. The flow of our experience. And being friends with whatever arises. And choosing which path to take if something less wholesome arises. As we come to the end of this sitting, we reflect on the goodness of this path of practice. And we each open our circle of care to offer whatever wholesome conditions we've created in this meditation to benefit all living beings on this planet. May all beings everywhere be safe and protected. Being safe, may we be contented, at ease. May we all abide in peace. And may all of us and all beings everywhere be free. I bow to you all. I bow to your practice. And I invite you to join me as we bow to each other with gratitude for this circle of Sangha. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to this series on training in emptiness. As you may know, the three pillars of the Buddhist path are ethics and samadhi and wisdom. In Pali, it's sila, samadhi, panya. And it's really important that we keep in mind that we have to bring all of that into practice in order for our meditation to be at all beneficial. So we begin by doing our best to be ethical in body, speech, and mind. And I also take generosity to be a part of being ethical, in addition to the 5 precepts. Generosity because we're not just doing this for ourselves. And it's a great thing to keep in mind the importance of other people. Again, an opportunity for letting go of our obsession with me, myself, and mine. So samadhi, or deep meditative composure, is not an end in itself. When it gets deep, it is very pleasurable, and it can even be a trap if we get attached to it. But the purpose of deep meditation is that it allows us to collect the mind sufficiently and to be sufficiently empty in order to have the insights that lead to freedom, to awakening. So yesterday I began reading to you from the Buddha's shorter discourse on emptiness. And this is the Chula Sunyata Sutta, Majjhima 121. And if you weren't there yesterday, we began with Ananda going to the Buddha in this beautiful building in the forest where the monks were all practicing meditation. And he went and paid his respects and sat down, and something was on his mind, and he said, and he really wanted to make sure he had heard things right. And he asked the Buddha to please let him know if he indeed heard correctly that the Buddha said previously that he often abides in emptiness. And the Buddha was delighted by this question and confirmed, yes, indeed. I abided in emptiness then, and I often abide in emptiness now. And then he begins to explain to Ananda what it means to abide in emptiness and how you might gradually approach deeper and deeper states of meditation that become more and more empty. So what the Buddha affirmed to Ananda is that it is really important in order to dwell in emptiness to be clearly aware of our experience in every moment. And we should know as practitioners what is present in our experience. And in addition to that, we should know what is absent. So it's the teaching is that whatever is present is empty of itself. It's not, it doesn't have thingness. It is essentially a process. Our body and whatever we experience is empty of anything that's substantial or eternal. So after this introduction that I read yesterday, the Buddha goes on to say, thus, one regards what is not there as empty. However, as to what remains there, one clearly knows this is present. Thus, Ananda, this is the genuine, undistorted, completely pure descent into emptiness. And then he goes on to give some instructions. And here I'll be, the Buddhist text uses the word bhikkhu, which means monk. And scholars now agree that bhikkhu can refer not only to monks, but to all monastics, including nuns, and to lay disciples as well. So I'll be using the word practitioner as translation of bhikkhu. A practitioner attends to the oneness dependent on the perception of earth. Through the perception of earth, the mind gains confidence, becomes settled, remains still, and is inclined towards release. So the advice is in this phase of the gradual entry into emptiness, this phase is being aware of the earth as a way of not being so attached to oneself and to details. So then the Buddha goes on to say, not attending to any of the rivers and ravines, the tracts of stumps and thorns, the mountains, the uneven places, one attends to the oneness dependent on the perception of the earth. So perceiving the earth in its globality without getting bogged down in specifics and details. And then he says, through the perception of earth, the mind gains confidence, becomes settled, remains still, and is inclined towards release. So this is a refrain. One clearly knows thus, whatever stress there might be dependent on the perception of people, that is not present here. There is only this measure of stress, the oneness dependent on the perception of earth. One clearly knows this field of perception is empty of the perception of people. There is only this that is not emptiness, the oneness dependent on the perception of earth. Thus, one regards what is not there as empty. However, as to what remains there, one clearly knows this is present. This Ananda is the genuine, undistorted, completely pure descent into emptiness. So we experimented with this a bit in the meditation. And the idea is that we begin with mental seclusion, with physical seclusion, as we do when we sit down to meditate. And then we cultivate mental seclusion, seclusion from the hindrances, seclusion from the chattering mind. And then there was a step in between, which was the forest. But the text is repeated in each one. And today I wanted to begin with this phase of the gradual approach to emptiness, which is awareness of the earth. And we don't have to know everything about the earth. We don't have to know, as the Buddha says, all the mountains and ravines and rivers and so forth and fields. So this is a very interesting instruction to not get bogged down in details. Because as soon as we start doing that, the mind starts roaming around, and it's very easy to indulge in some sort of reification. So he's trying to help us out of the very human tendency to reify our experience. And I find that particularly helpful because I tend to be way too much of a detail person. And there's an expression in English, the devil is in the details. And that's, I've certainly seen, and for me, that's the case. I can get caught by details and, wanting to make sure everything's in the right place. And that's the way it should be. And this is not skillful on the path to practice. So if you would like some homework for the week, or I mean, not the week, for the next 24 hours, see if you can, in your experience, really pay attention to where your mind is going, and not just in meditation, but in daily life as well. And and see what you're focusing on. Are you focusing on people? or what. And then if you want to simplify a bit, the invitation is to focus on the earth as a unified perception. It's grounding, it's settling. And it can help us to stay centered. And then, as the Buddha says, there is only this that is not emptiness, the oneness dependent on the perception of earth, and thus one regards what is not there as empty. However, as to what remains, one clearly knows this is present. Thus, this is the genuine, undistorted, completely pure descent into emptiness. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your practice.